Hello, 6th graders. This is Miss Nicolay. Today, the reading strategy we are going to be focusing on is interactions can lead to inferences. So while you're reading, one of the first things you really want to be thinking about while reading is stopping and noticing all the interactions that happen with your main characters. So if you know who your main character is, the easiest way to do that is when someone new, so your secondary characters come into the picture, is really being intentional about the interaction. So what is happening between them? Is it a conversation? Is it a conflict? Are they physically doing something with each other, like playing a game, or what are they doing? So really stopping and noticing these interactions with the secondary characters. Okay. So when you're doing that, then think about how the secondary characters' actions are making your main character feel, think, and act. Alright? They serve a purpose. You have your main characters, but the secondary characters are really driving different ways that your main character will respond. And these interactions are intentional. They're more than just for entertainment, but they're intentional to the story. They drive the story. So thinking about how your main character is feeling or acting, maybe they're even acting differently during these interactions with secondary characters that come into the picture. And then shift your perspective. Put your perspective, be in the role of that secondary character, and really think about, well, how are they feeling? How are they acting? Due to maybe how your main character is responding, because this is a two-person thing that's happening here. So trying to put yourself in a different perspective and thinking through even if you don't like them, maybe they are Malfoy and they're from Harry Potter, even if you don't like Draco, maybe you at least are trying to understand the perspective he is coming from. And then lastly, what ideas do you have about them or their relationship? So I'm going to practice doing this with survival strategies of the Almost Brave. So last week we read chapter 11, Sometimes You Should Feel Sorry for the Cobra. And you have a flashback to the first time, or I think it was the first day, Billy and Liberty got to ride in the camper with their father, right? So they're driving in the camper and everything's, going pretty peachy. Liberty does recall that it's a pretty good day with her dad. But there's a little bit of an awkward conversation. So you have this interaction between the two. So I'm going to start off by reading, and then I'm going to go over it. "What is that?" Dad asked. "My notebook," I said, flattening it onto my lap. It felt safer there. "Just stuff I write about, animals and things I like." Dad coughed. "You're interested in animals?" I nodded. Billy stared. "Nice," said Dad. But that's all he said. And I wanted to ask him questions, but they stuck in my throat, like that time I had a fever and Mom gave me 3 Advil to swallow. The questions stuck and wouldn't come out. Finally, after an hour or so, the silence began to bother me. Shouldn't we be able to talk to him like we had talked to Mom? He was ours now, wasn't he? I swallowed hard and said, "So where have you been?" He cleared his throat and scrunched his lips together. "I've been working." He sounded a little irritated. I rubbed an imaginary spot off the dashboard. "Oh, do you like being a photographer?" "Yes." "Where do you live?" "All over." "What do you like to take pictures of?" "Everything." And then I pulled out the clipping from my notebook. And I'm going to stop there. So there's a lot going on here with this interaction, this conversation just between Billy and her father. The first thing I'm going to stop and notice is Liberty and her dad are talking in the camper. So I noticed the interaction between the two characters. Next, kind of thinking about how the secondary character, which is Liberty's dad, is making Liberty, who is our main character, feel. So Liberty, sorry about that, is upset and is choking on her words. Okay, so why is she upset? This conversation isn't going very easy. She thought, it's my father. This should be a little bit easier. It was going easy. Conversations were easy with Mom. But why aren't they easy with Dad? And she's choking on her words. She doesn't feel comfortable enough maybe to ask him questions. So see how I'm kind of trying to think through this and make an inference on how Liberty might be feeling and why is she choking on her words. So trying to go deeper and dig deeper into what makes this so hard. What do we know to be true about our parents. If you have a good relationship with your parents, it's easy to talk to them. But if you don't, you might be choking on your words and things might be hard to say because you don't know maybe how they will react. I think this is one of the first conversations Liberty's really able to have with her dad in quite some time. So she doesn't know how he's going to react, so she might be hesitant, choking on her words to say things. Next, Dad is feeling annoyed and irritated. Liberty even says at one point he's irritated, but how, when we as readers or just as people notice when there's one-word answers, whether you're getting a text or someone's just replying with one-word answers, we kind of feel like they're annoyed or they're mad at us or they're irritated. And thinking now, putting myself in the dad's perspective, think about it. He's been alone for a number of years. He doesn't know he knows how to respond to these questions, but he's used to having this alone time. So he's probably irritated with all these questions. He's used to just driving in his camper on his own and not having anyone bother him. And now suddenly he has all these questions. So he's probably a little irritated. And lastly, what ideas do we have about the relationship maybe, or about them? What I said is they do not have a strong relationship. And how could they? They haven't been together in years. And right now, it's sort of awkward. So, and I would lastly just add, Dad lacks understanding. He hasn't had to care for either of the girls in a long, long time. So, interactions can lead to inferences. Really stopping and taking the time to look at these interactions between your characters and really looking at the feelings and thinking deeper about them. What's going on? What are the actions? So that's what you're going to be doing today. So while you're reading, stop and notice the places where your characters are interacting and use the process we worked through above. Alright, have a great day.